So I am Katan Al-Abid, the director of Basra Antiquities and Heritage, and I'm working as a national focal point for culture with UNESCO for Iraq. I started my job 2005 as a temporary employee, and then 2007 a full-time employee. I'm from Basra. Basra is the second biggest city in Iraq, very southern of Iraq on the Gulf. And I remember when I started my job, when I arrived to Basra, because my family was escaped from the previous regime, Saddam's regime, to the north of Iraq. And I spent most of my life when I was young in the north, not in the south. But I was born in Basra. I'm originally with my family from Basra. And we came back 2005. When I got my job, I went to Basra. I was looking for the Department of Antiquities there. I spent a week looking for the department. There was no Department of Antiquities because the building itself was still by squatters. They're using, after the last war, 2003, Iraq became without law, without security, without police, without army, without anything. Everything was, complicated. And I found the previous director home. I went to him and I gave him my paper, and I told him that I got my position to be as an archaeologist here in Basra. And he said, yes, now we don't have building, we don't have office because it's still by the squatters. That was 2005. 2006, we worked hardly to take them out and then to come back again to our office and bring all the staff to start reworking as antiquities department. We did. We succeed. We took them out and we start working again. What I discovered that I am the only archaeologist in the department. There is no archaeologist before because only Baghdad University and Mosul University in that time was teaching archaeology. So nobody from Basra is very far. It's 600 kilometers south from Baghdad. Nobody from Basra can go to study there, and the time was very expensive to spend money for your study. That's the first thing. The second thing is what I discovered, there was no any documentation, no any survey, no any rehabilitation, and no museum in the city. Basra, historical, it's the first Islamic city outside the Arabian Peninsula. It's the second Islamic city after Medina al-Munawwara. And it has a huge history because it was the port of Mesopotamia. It's the only port in Iraq. A really very strong history during Alexander time, in the Hellenistic, and then the Islamic time. About more than 200 archaeological sites and more than 400 heritage buildings, but nothing done. There is, as I said, no any survey. So we start from here. I was just thinking, I didn't write anything on paper, just thinking to make my strategy, what to do. I wasn't the director in that time, and I cannot, making a war with the director to do things without his agreement. So I was thinking doing things sometime as an NGO, not as a staff. So I started doing a survey for the archaeological sites in my own car without any support or resource from the government. And 2007, we finished the survey with 2 or 3 people who was supporting me, and they are my team, let's say. In 2007, the British Army suggested to leave Iraq. The British Army was only in Basra, and the US Army was in the rest of Iraq. And the British Army was living in the palaces complex, Saddam's palace in Basra. We have 5 palaces complex. So I was looking for the idea of transferring one of the Saddam's palace to be as a museum for Basra, for the city. The old museum was in the Directorate of Antiquities office today. It's a heritage building from 18th century. cannot make it as a museum because the development of security in the world, not only in Basra or in Iraq, it's a wooden house. We cannot, protect the artifacts inside. So in the same time, the British Army, before they left, I mean, 2, 3, or 4 weeks, they were suggesting the same idea of me to get one of the palaces to make it a museum for Basra, and really we met in these things. So we got, let's say, the first agreement from the local government to use the building. The British Army was supporting us for doing the plan for the building because it was a palace in a big damage because it was army used. Militia was bombing the British Army. Many bombed in the building, in the palace. At the same time, some Iraqi soldiers was shooting because it's Saddam's palace. We did the plan, then we have bureaucratic problem with the central government. They refused to give us the building. We spent 2, 3 years to get the final agreement from the official agreement from the central government. 2010 we got it, and we create a charity, a British charity called the Friends of Basra Museum. The Friends of Basra Museum was the main supporter after the British Army left was the Department of Middle East at the British Museum. Dr. John Curtis, he was the man who's looking for this project and providing money to do the rehabilitation. Charity was led by Terence Clark, Sir Terence Clark. He was one of the British Council 1968 in Basra. And he's very supporting the heritage, cultural heritage in general in southern Iraq. And the charity was started to find the money for this project, and the first fund came from British Petroleum, the oil company working in Basra, because Basra is the biggest oil field in Iraq. And we started with the first phase for securing the building, closing the windows, doing the security doors, and the area around the building. There was many military remains also, cleaning network of water, network of drain and electricity. Then 2014 we saw the bad video was showing that Daesh was destroying Muslim Museum northern Iraq, and we suggest to open one of the galleries. It's kind of message to the world that, or to Daesh, that if you destroy the museum not in Iraq, we are making a new museum south in Iraq, because the civilization and culture will never disappear. And we opened the first gallery 2016 in September. Was very success. The media from the world, more than 200 newspaper and media was talking about this gallery. It's a very good collection, very good, presentation and museum criteria. And then we continued working on the other galleries with the British Council was supporting the other 3 galleries, and the French Embassy was supporting the laboratory. We have also some activities with the German. We did some conference there. And just 2 months ago, we opened the complete museum. We're still working on the library, really, and it will finish at the end of this year. Museum was not only working to present artifacts, we have also focusing on the activities. So during all of this work, we was in contact and in collaboration with the different international organizations and institutions in the museums. We did a museum management workshop with the British, with the UK, with the BC and the Friends of Basra Museum also. And we did a conference for poetries with the French and Germany in the same time. And we have held the international workshop for the conservation of the archaeological sites with the German Antiquities Department, German Archaeological Institute, DIA. We still continue working with the different organizations for future collaboration. And really very happy to start our collaboration. This is the first contact with the Sweden, museum, as I'm here today. It's a pleasure, and we hope that for future we will have really a strong collaboration for the preserving and protecting the cultural heritage. That's for the museum. In the same time, we start doing excavation for the archaeological sites and survey, as I said, a very high technology survey. It's a geophysics survey. We call georadar survey by using a new technology. We've done for Old Basra city, the Islamic city, and we signed a contract with the Manchester University also, and we discovered the lost city of Alexander in Iraq. It was in Basra. It's a very big city, very interesting. And we have the Manchester team 3 years ago working with us in Basra. We have Wells University also doing geophysics survey in Old Basra city, in the Islamic city. And we have some discussion for future also with American South Carolina University and also other universities around the world. So that's the main idea of really start from zero for protecting the cultural heritage. At the same time, we are doing awareness for people, and for we have a special program for kids, and we have also a special, let's say, kind of media interview and an interview with the media to make awareness for protecting the cultural heritage. Because we are living in Iraq, it's not really, we have changing the situation every time, and we have to find solution, because you cannot imagine what will happen next day. For example, last year I was here in Sweden in August, I think, and we have in the morning a very big demonstration by people because they hate the government, they are not giving or doing a really good service for people. And they want to fire all the government buildings. And they did. And they came to the museum to fire it. So you cannot implement your plan, complicated strategy for emergency plan. It will not work at all. You have to use your experience, your relations, your mentality to find the solution for these things. It was really like this. Afternoon I was in Newtobury, and they called me. They said the people arrived very close to the museum, about 100 meters only, and they will fire, because the museum and the government complex, all the building around the museum was, a government institution and other. Then what I did the 50 call by 1 hour for my colleague, for my staff, for my cousin, everyone. I told them, go to be with the people. Just make awareness and tell them this is the museum holding your history, your identity. It's for you, it's not for the government. It's a very different. We are not a political or any service department in the government. So it's for you. It's the identity of the city, and it's your messenger for the world. It's for humanity. And we win. We succeed. They didn't do anything for the museum, but they fired all the building around. So sometimes, as I told you, you have to use your experience, because for me, I was still working as a national focal point with UNESCO, and always attending many conferences and many workshops around the world, not only with UNESCO, also with the private institutions. We heard a lot about complicated plan, emergency plan, what to do during the war, and I don't know, safeguardings, everything. It will not work. During the war, you don't have time to think, and you cannot imagine what will happen next hour. You don't have time to make your plan, to implement your plan. So you have to be really make your good relations with the people, and you have to find a solution, clever solution in a minute. So that's what we have to work on, focus on. Of course, we have to put our plan. That's for systematic, let's say, war, I can say, if you have because you have time. You see something will happen, some more will coming, but for something will happen. I mean, independent or as emergency in the morning. People wake up and they want to do a demonstration. You cannot imagine. You don't have time to do anything. So you have to do a different layer of, a different level of protection for the cultural heritage. And I remember 2006, 2007, we have some religious problem and let's say war. It's not very much in Basra, but it arrived to Basra. It started very basic, not like things happen in Baghdad. They was killing people depend on them identity. That was very bad. So we was really in a strong relations with the NGOs. And I was leading one of the NGOs, and I have my team, I have volunteers. And we did very nice project for bringing all the different religions in one place and show them heritage and told them, you see, church was beside the synagogue was beside the mosque. He was living as a human in one place, and that's our gold period. We was really in a high, I mean, people was very happy living in like this situation, and very quiet. So we have to continue supporting this, and we have to tell people how them family, them grandfathers was living, and we published a book about that. And it became very success. I mean, nothing happened later in Basra because some fighters was thinking to destroy this church, or other they want to destroy this mosque, or that's a problem. But nothing happened later. We was part of the awareness, let's say, but it's very important also to think for that, because all we are looking for peace. That's the main things we are looking for. So the peace will come through the cultural heritage. That's the message. Yeah.